I'm going to go into this reading that I just did for myself, because what I've been trying to do is work through this energy here. This particular Three of Swords talks about pain, emotional pain, but in the particular deck that I'm using, it talks about it in sort of a way of acupuncture, if you will. So I thought I would do a meditation about this and where I am with it and record it. First of all, the heart of the matter is the Seven of Pentacles. And what that means to me is that I'm currently cultivating my resources, my emotional, material, and other resources, my energy, my emotions, the relationships that I have. And a lot of it has to do with my livelihood. And the opposing energy to that is the Page of Pentacles, which is a desire to perfect, to learn, to move forward. And I see that as a rather positive opposing energy. And at the base, what has happened to me is that over the past, well, since the pandemic began actually, and probably before that, that I've had an opportunity to feel both, I am done with this, the Ten of Swords in this particular deck, which is the Light Seers deck, talks about the feeling of being stabbed in the back, or just feeling over it. And the difference between this deck's Ten of Swords and the traditional one is that the individual in this Ten of Swords is walking away from the situation. The swords are the birds. They're behind her. She's walking away from it. She's ready to go and move on to another type of energy in her life. And that is perfectly true. And then I asked for clarification on that. And I got the two cards, Judgment and the Sun. And these two cards in this deck talk about what the image shows as a person emerging, an artistic, in this case it looks like a dancer, emerging from the soul of the person who is experiencing this type of rebirth. And I really do feel as though that is the phase that I'm moving into. Also in the clarification was the Sun. So there is a huge amount of positive energy to the pain that I'm experiencing in my current life. And I think that's very meaningful. So I'm going to move up to, this is kind of a Celtic cross, you can sort of see that, but it's expanded out with the clarifiers. So my past energy has definitely been that Nine of Swords. It's a difficult period that you go through, that there's a lot of anxiety and insomnia, which has been true, and that is in the past. The goal here is shown at the top. I'm using this, it's like upcoming energy or the environment that's crowning this reading. The Page of Swords, and the Page of Swords is talking about coming into a point of time that I am attempting to perfect something intellectual and something true within me. And that is exactly what the energy feels like to me. In the future, I see the Six of Swords, and I clarified that with a couple of other cards. So what I see as far as the future is I am moving past the energy of the Ten of Swords and the Nine of Swords and the pain, and the energy that is going to move me forward is reinforced by the King of Swords, who is a powerful, recognizes truth, uses a lot of logic, and intelligence, and then there is also an emotional intelligence about them. They know how to go forward with power. And in the power of the Queen of Wands, I also have some friends who I have as support who are sort of in the role of being trusted advisors while I'm going through this. So that's what those three cards there are very powerful. Reinforcement that the energy that I'm trying to move by this Three of Swords that I've meditated about here is I'm moving into a time when that is going to be processed. And I think that one of the things that I'm learning with this is that there is a great deal of emotional integration of old wounds that are being dealt with here. And that's very powerful indeed. And then moving on to my energy in this instance. I'm an Aries, so I'm really happy to see the King of Wands here. The card that came up first, however, that was clarified by the energy of the King of Wands was the Five of Pentacles reversed. And in this particular deck, the Five of Pentacles reversed talks about feeling a lack or feeling left out or abandoned or stuck. And in the image you can see there is a key over there that is visible, but the person who is sitting there is, let me turn that in this direction so you can see it a little bit better, but this person is in a state of despair and doesn't notice that there is a key right there to that door. So they have within themselves right now the energy or the possibility to get themselves out of the situation that they feel themselves in. And that is what is the turning point, because reversed, it talks to me about the freedom that you have right before you that you don't see. And that's where the King of Wands, that's taking back that power and realizing there's a key there. Get yourself out of there, girl. The environment looks really good. There's the Ten of Pentacles, which is, just like a completion. I have all the resources that I need. And there's also the Six of Pentacles, which talks about gratitude and giving back. And that is something that this whole big lesson, the whole image of the lesson, is really about finding the lessons within the pain and moving those through. Another thing that is in the energy of this reading is the hopes and fears. We have the Queen of Pentacles right there, and that is a person who's mastered her resources. So my hopes are that this is the direction I'm going. And I noticed that when I clarified that, the fear came up as the very subject of the reading, the meditation on the Three of Swords. So I know that one of my fears is for the pain, that emotional pain, to continue. And then the third card, the second clarifier, came up as the Page of Cups. And this is an emotional learning. The interesting thing about this card is when pigs fly. You can see on the card there's a tiny little pig, and there's an emotional cup there that it's kind of like the impossible is possible. This is something that is, my hope is that this healing of this situation can be resolved. And the outcome, the original card that came up for the outcome in the reading was the Star. And I know that speaks of healing and moving forward. And so I clarified that with the Seven of Wands. Now, the Seven of Wands is usually sort of a defensive energy, but I can see in this deck that this person has gone inside and is not defending, is sitting in complete stillness and emotional stability in the situation. And that's kind of what I have felt like recently. Giving up the defensive activity and just sitting with it. Sitting with, this is what I have done. This is what I have achieved. This is where I am, and I'm comfortable there. And that is really what the star speaks to me about. And it kind of is that connection. Those two cards, the star and the Seven of Wands, seemed to me to talk a lot about that stability and connection with the higher self, which is what I've been feeling quite a lot of. Also, with it is there the Three of Pentacles. And this is really interesting because the card typically speaks of teamwork or finding a team. And what I have been trying to do recently is really find my own tribe again, because I felt in many ways that in my life that there is a lack of that connection to my tribe. So that is, I think, a really good message. What I find interesting about it too is that that piece of weaving that this group of people are putting together, it's oddly like a traffic signal. You have a stop, go, and caution. Not sure exactly what that means, but I think it's an interesting image. I'll have to look at that. In fact, I'm going to do that. So the Three of Pentacles in this deck. I'm looking it up. Cooperation, community, learning, sharing, and listening. And it can also talk about difficulty working with others, need to listen. So I think that the traffic sign is like caution on where you're going with this, because you can go several different ways. But it really talks about conscious collaboration with others rather than just going on what you want, what you need, your own agenda, etc. So really, I look at it as really finding my own tribe with whom I can collaborate in that way. And underlying energy for this particular reading was the Eight of Cups, which is walking away from the emotional pain that is signified by that Three of Swords card. And that is really how I am feeling. And underneath that, it's sort of interesting. There's a Nine of Pentacles. There is the Two of Pentacles, which talks about balance and trying to juggle energies. And there is the Ace of Swords, which talks really to me about being open to a new set of truths. There's also the Four of Swords, which talks about the recuperation, rest and recuperation to heal. And I love that image of the individual in the nest curled up and just, healing. And under that is the Moon, which talks about going inside, which is where I've been, and strength, which is something that has been developing. The Knight of Wands, again, some more energy of the creative, the fire, the Wands energy. The Hanged Man reversed, which is interesting because it's right on top of the Tower. The Emperor, which is more Aries. The Lovers, which talks of the connections. These are reversed, but this is getting the need to cultivate a better idea of what it means to love oneself and the world. And underneath that is the Wheel of Fortune. And underneath that, the Three of Wands and the Five of Wands, which is where I felt I have been for the past year, is a feeling of strife, a feeling of working hard, but in some ways it's competitive and somewhat disruptive and combative energy at times. So, sorry about this, but it really, to me, was a quite a deep and meaningful and interesting reading. And you see some cards hanging out to the left there, and that is another situation, because I have a situation that I've found myself in most recently, which has given me an opportunity to do a couple of things. And so I asked a question based on this reading about that. The result was that if I took the action that I was going to it was going to result in the Seven of Wands energy, which I saw in the reading that was there, along with strength. And at the same time, it was going to be emotionally a strong period of growth. And then the Judgment card, which is showing up in the reading right here. So there were a lot of synchronicities between the two ideas. And so I did a final bit of questioning, which was a bit of advice. So what I got here was interesting, because it was the Temperance card, the Four of Wands, Four of Cups, and Seven of Cups. And to me, what these cards said was that right now it's time to wait, to be careful how you go forward and do it with good boundaries, which the Four of Wands talks to me about. This is, celebrate with people, but have those people be part of your tribe and be aware that of your boundaries. And then the Four of Cups here talks about gratitude, and that, I think, is being grateful for the opportunities that the Three of Swords energy has given me to make advances, to integrate some lessons into my life. And then the choices, the Seven of Cups being a choice a choice card. And it just talks about being careful with your choices and come from a point of gratitude rather than a point of hurt or want. So overall, it was a very good reading, and I think that the reason that I recorded this is that I think there are a lot of people, particularly Aries individuals, who have this currently going on in their lives, and they might be able to pull something from this. Anyway, I will stop it here, and I'm going to post this to choice few people, and we will see how it's received. Thank you very much. Bye.